It would not be a stretch to say that the most important video game in my life was Batman Arkham City. I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that this game influenced me heavily throughout my life. Whether it was being my favorite game to ever release at the time, or what it's led me to, Arkham City and the Arkham games as a whole were a large part of the reason I started getting into video games as a kid. City was the first game I ever beat, and the first time I can remember a video game story being so engaging and thought-provoking to me. Obviously, since I was a kid, the thoughts weren't complex, and instead basically just, wow, I can't believe the Joker just died. But nonetheless, it was important to me. This game made me interested in gaming as a whole, and I started to take games more seriously, and invest myself into them beyond just having a good time, and looking at them more as genuine pieces of art. My relationship with Arkham City goes beyond even that. This game has led me to pick up another one of my favorite hobbies, which is reading comics. I had comics before this, but Arkham City led me to having a fascination with the world of comics I haven't really kicked to this day. My favorite's on screen right now. It's also led to my friends, which I've made in large part due to this series. In fact, this channel wouldn't be here today without Arkham City. I met Declan and Ben through our shared love of the Arkham games, and our anticipation for what was at the time a potential 4th or 5th Arkham game on the horizon, which turned out to be Gotham Knights. Our disappointment in that title, however, is a story for another day. The game means a lot to me. But scrolling through my top 50 list on GG today, and looking at all the games I love now, I noticed that Batman Arkham City isn't in my top 50. It's still a game I really admire and love to this day, but the magic I once felt for the title is sort of gone. I want to mention that this isn't because I believe the game is actually worse now in retrospect. It's just because that the place the game had in my heart is sort of gone now. I've gotten more from other games than I had with Arkham City, through no fault of its own. It's just that tastes change as you get older. The things you loved as a kid maybe won't always be the things you love as an adult. There's this saying I really like, I heard from what I believe is one of King K's videos. Great channel, by the way, go check him out. You can never go home. The definition of this saying, as Adam Fish so eloquently put in his response to a Quora question, is, it means whether or not you want it to, time marches on. Even if you want things to stay the same, people change, your circumstances change, and you can't ever recreate the memories of your past. So it's best to accept it and move forward. And this perfectly describes to me my relationship with Batman Arkham City. I played through this game dozens of times. I know every nook and cranny of it. I know the story backwards and forwards, and the controls will always be burned into my memory. I love the world and its look, its smog-ridden skies, the polluted fog of the steel mill, the blinking neon lights of the city, the gorgeous art direction. It's gone on to inspire the looks of these characters today. I mean, seriously, Harley Quinn's popularity can be directly tracked to the Arkham games. These games practically made Harley a mainstream character on their own before Margot Robbie ever put on the iconic makeup. Ben Affleck's Batsuits all take inspiration from the Arkham games in one way or another, and even his famous warehouse scene in Batman vs. Superman takes inspiration from these games. But you can never go home again. I can play this game today, I can go through the effortlessly fun combat and level design and have a good time, but I'll never be able to feel what I felt with this game again. I'll never be as immersed, as invested. I'll never be able to be as in love with this game as I was. Instead of genuinely enjoying the experience, I start to nag. Little things I don't like pop out at me more, and they're just little things, and nothing ever too serious. Except for, like, a couple issues. Like how the game drags itself out at points. You can't just go to the Penguin, you have to do a bunch of menial stuff like destroy jammers, save the cops, get Mr. Freeze out, explore his museum, etc. But to be honest, that doesn't really matter, does it? Like, yeah, it's a little annoying, but like, you're playing as Batman. That stuff is fun, right? It used to be for me, but not anymore. I still love its gameplay, but it feels a little simple for me now. Is that because of the fact that I've played this so much? Is it boring because I know so much about it? The combat just isn't as fun because I've played it too much? Or is it because I've played other games that have had such phenomenal combat it's opened my eyes to this game's flaws? Maybe stealth just isn't as fun because I know how to break it. Or maybe it's not as fun because I've played stealth games that just excel in every way that this game doesn't, and those games are also some of the best games ever made. At the time of release, the story made me think of games differently, to take them more seriously and engage with them in ways I hadn't done previously. That at least has to be good, right? I think you might know where this is going. The story is a mess. Batman doesn't have a character arc in this game at all, and the game relies way too much on you having outside knowledge of the character for it to work. It doesn't set up Batman in a way that gets you to know who he is specifically, and uses its characters more as facsimile versions of themselves from the public perception of them, rather than specific detailed versions. Batman is Batman here, but he's more like the Batman your dad knows, rather than a specific interpretation of him. He's an approximation of what people generally know about the character, and what is the game even saying? I can forgive the game not having a central character arc for its central figure if the story has a point, but I don't know what the point is here. The Batman has a point. It was a movie that loves Batman almost as much as it critiques him. It shows what makes Batman great as a concept, but also the flaws the man underneath the cowl has, and what he needs to do to move past them and become a better man and Batman. Maybe Batman and Joker have had a complex relationship? Cool, but like, how? The Dark Knight had a great way of showing their relationship, and what exactly about them was unique and made them iconic. It also had defined versions of these characters. We knew who these people were as people, rather than just puppet versions of themselves. I don't really know what Arkham City was trying to do here. It's a fun story, don't get me wrong, I enjoy it, but it's not as complex or interesting as other games I've played, or other Batman stories I've consumed. But these flaws aren't really flaws of the game itself, I think. I don't think the game is trying to do anything here like what I mentioned. It's just trying to be a good time, a tour through Batman's world where you can really, well, feel like Batman. The game's core is about making you enjoy the fantasy of being Batman. But I don't know if that's really enough for me personally anymore. I don't know. I don't know if I can enjoy this game as much as I used to because of the fact I'm measuring it up against games it has no intention of being like or emulating, or if it's because of the fact I've just outgrown it. Like I said before, the role this game played in my life is undoubtedly significant, and I'll always love it because of that. But I don't know if I can still play it and enjoy it like I used to. Through no fault of its own, this game just isn't what it used to be for me. That's okay. I don't need this game to be anything for me anymore. I'm thankful for the memories I get from it, the passion it's inspired in me, and the friends I've made along the way. I'm thankful for everything this game has done for me. I appreciate the path it's laid for me. I appreciate the love of the characters it's inspired in me, and more so than any of that, I'm so grateful for what it did for me. It made me so happy as a kid. It was so important to me, and I'll always love it for comforting me in such a pivotal moment in my childhood. But it doesn't need to be that anymore. Sometimes we just grow out of the things we love. I can't go home again, and that might be okay.